Welcome, everyone, to the brand new Safe and Supportive Saturday Night Call. And my name is Ella, and I'll be your host for this evening. This call-in was established by American leaders and organizers in order to provide you a safe alternative environment for targeted people worldwide. The community has asked for a new venue to provide support, establish connections, and encourage healthy discussions and dialogue, and that is what we are providing for you. In addition, we will have an array of hosts bringing you informative, inspiring, and enlightening guests to assist you in understanding targeting in its many various forms. Most of all, we hope that you leave our call feeling encouraged, empowered, and glad that you decided to attend our call, which has been designed for you. If you are interested in acquiring a list of safe and well-moderated calls, please email us at SaturdayNightCall@gmail.com. And here's some of our guidelines. Please remember to be courteous to one another by allowing each person to finish speaking before joining the discussion. Keep yourself muted unless you are speaking, and be mindful of the listening community. We will not tolerate any abuse in any form, and what we have heard on some of the calls is severe verbal abuse, accusations, and information that has been highly upsetting to targets everywhere, which is why we are here tonight. And tonight we have a very special guest. She is my dear friend, and her name is Karen Stewart, and she is a former NSA employee turned whistleblower, and most of all, a human rights warrior. She grew up in a military family and lived in many parts of our country and in the country of Germany during her father's military career. She has always had an interest in foreign languages and art, propelling her to acquire the equivalent of a double major at FSU in German and Fine Arts. After graduating from college, she applied to the National Security Agency to work as a linguist, translating and reporting foreign material of interest to the government. After a highly stringent background check, she was hired by the National Security Agency in 1982. She worked at NSA until 2010, until she was railroaded out of NSA just 2 years before her retirement because she had dared ask the Inspector General to investigate a matter involving work credit and promotion theft. After receiving little or no assistance in the matter, she filed a lawsuit and an appeal for forbidden retaliatory firing to be adjudicated by Judge Lawrence Gallagher at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, in which she was denied compensation for her illegal firing. She has dedicated her life to assisting targeted individuals by demanding change both in policy and cessation of these crimes. Her activism includes a tremendous amount of letter writing to government officials, starting petitions, and supporting targeted individuals worldwide, and many other continued activism efforts as well. And thank you, my dear friend, for agreeing to our interview tonight. She truly is a consistent, generous, loving community member who has done so much on our behalf. And I know she's targeted, she's tremendously targeted, and like so many of us, she's just taking it day by day, and she does it with a smile. And I'm just grateful to have you here, Karen. I'm sure you want to give a little more input, because we do have a lot of new people on this particular call, new to the community, people that are new to the community. So maybe if you want to give a little more background, we'll just do it short, because I know a lot of people do know your story about your whistleblowing, the repercussions that followed.
Well, I thank you very much, and you absolutely are one of my favorite people, so I appreciate your friendship very much, and I admire the work that you do.
Well, thank you. So let's talk about the whistleblowing, where you were working, which we understand is the NSA, and what circumstances arose that really were alarming to you, and what you did.
Well, what had happened was that I had discovered that, and this is in the paper, so I'm not giving you anything top secret, and I won't be in trouble for it. But what I had done was discovered that the Russians were developing a jammer that would jam American weapons just before we were to invade Iraq. And so I ended up doing a 6-month series of top-secret reports delineating how these jammers functioned, what frequency, how they jammed and how they had developed it, who was developing it, how they were getting them from Russia to Iraq secretly because these were illegal to sell to Iraq. And so that took about 6 months, and that engendered a 200-person team that went out, recreated the jammers, and tested them. And then when they tested them, they said, oh, crap, this really works. So they had to then figure out how to destroy the jammers. So it was estimated by the time that the invasion happened in 2003 that the fact that I had given them all this information, and they were able to destroy all but 2 or 3 of the jammers at the time that we invaded. The Pentagon and then top NSA officials verified that that telling them about these jammers probably had saved about 2,000 people's lives, because the Iraqis had taken to putting some of their big guns into neighborhoods, thinking that we would not dare take out the big guns in fear of harming civilians. But we had very precise weapons, and we were very secure in the fact that we could take out the guns and really not harm anybody around it, except for the jammers. So the jammers really threw a wrench into the spokes. But that work was very successful, and I was told to go ahead and prepare. This is very strange because you have to prepare a write-up for yourself, and then your boss okays it, and then they submit it for for promotion review. So I did that, and what happened was I was told I was passed over, which happens, and I didn't think anything more about it. And then the next year I was told, no, you weren't exactly passed over. Your name was taken off the write-up, and somebody else's name was put on it. And it turned out that woman was sleeping her way through upper management and could not be promoted for her own work, so they stole mine. When I went to the Inspector General and asked them to investigate, that's when I got attacked, and actually I ended up being stalked and harassed by NSA security goons. And I tell people what my experience showed me was the direct translation of that type of stalking, harassment, and slander campaign that the fusion centers use. Because once they had gotten rid of me, taken me out of the job, they transferred the harassment to the local fusion center, and the NSA security goons were replaced by our favorite people, perps. Civilian perps taking their gift cards and other types of gifts to stalk and harass innocent people. So I feel like that's probably my most important contribution to figuring out who's doing this and why, in that I can trace this activity to federal agencies themselves as well as the fusion centers. So since then, I've been writing letters to congressmen, senators. I wrote to the Director of National Intelligence. I wrote to Grinnell, who was the temporary Director of National Intelligence, and then actually got a letter to, I think it's Congressman Ratcliffe before he was made Director of National Intelligence. Also got a letter to his top aide, Pash Patel, and to Lindsey Graham, and to everybody, I think, who could actually help us. I'm basically keeping an eye on the congressmen and senators who seem to be very reasonable people, patriots, and not criminals. So even though I did write to every single senator last February, which is 100 senators because there's 2 senators per state, I wrote to every single one of them and said, you cannot repass the Protect America Act because it is too flawed, and it is something that you are unaware of. It is basically very detrimental to the American country and to the people. It's doing things that you don't know that it's doing. So I wrote to discourage them, and I also sent one of my flyers to each and every congressman, which I think is around 345 people. So like I said, I've been writing letters to top officials for several years now. And the latest one that I wrote earlier in September was to former Congressman Mark Meadows, who is now the White House Chief of Staff, because he was a very ardent supporter of Trump. And what prompted me to write that particular letter was a woman who spoke to me and said, Karen, I went to apply for aid because I'm human trafficked, and we all are. And she said, I told them, I was a targeted individual and I was being human trafficked, and I thought I should qualify for this aid that Trump had siphoned off to give to victims of human trafficking. And they told her, no, you don't qualify. We've never heard of that. So I ended up writing the chief of staff, and I said, you have left off some very important people in regard to giving them aid and comfort for being human trafficked, and that would be the targeted individuals. I said, have you not heard of us, or have you just neglected to include us? And so I went into a full letter of what was being done to us. And at the end of the letter, I also sent in a list of demands. I said, our country basically has betrayed us, and we need certain things for compensation. And this is what I suggest. And I said that this can be negotiated to a point, but that we were pretty set in what we needed. I don't know if you want me to read the list of demands. It's like almost 3 pages, but it'll give you an idea.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, the ones that you find the most important, I think they are important. We're going to put it on a recording for people to hear. And what it might do is inspire other people to integrate that into their requests and their demands.
Well, that's fine. And I've said, people can say, hey, Karen, you forgot this, or hey, Karen, I don't like that. And you're afraid to do that. Because this is a kind of a first draft suggestion. Though I did send it in to him, I left room for us to negotiate when they have time. And I've told people I don't think they're ignoring us, and I'll give you more reasons later why. I think they're just swamped. I think they're just overwhelmed, not only with the election, but with Antifa, with BLM, with COVID. And a lot of independent journalists have linked some of these people to Communist China, and Communist China apparently has provided money to buy some of these people weapons of war. I mean, real rifles that are used in war, So they're planning some very nasty things, and this is what they have to stop to protect all of us. So are they ignoring us? I don't think so. I think that we're talking about a house of fire, and they are trying their best to put out the fire and get as many people out as possible. So I do still have hope. So I'm hoping people don't give up and don't get bitter, because I still have hope, and I think things are going on, and they will go in our favor at some point when we get the ship that we're on to stop sinking. Then we can get our people out of the water, is what I say. But I'll just read this to you. It says, targeted individuals list of demands. Whereas the United States of America illegally and in a heinously cowardly fashion declared a secret war upon its own non-combatant, unarmed citizens under pretense of the inside job 9/11 attack, which it too is responsible for, then continued the war crimes, human rights crimes, and financial exploitation crimes against certain American citizens and other non-combatant unarmed civilians without cause but for profit. We, your victims, demand immediate cessation of your criminal assaults upon us on all levels and in all locations. First and foremost, we demand complete medical care to properly diagnose and treat the health damage your attacks have caused. We demand the most advanced treatments at no cost to ourselves whatsoever. We demand lifelong free health care and treatment, since you took it upon yourselves to harm our present health and sabotage our future health. We further demand the same for our family members and even our pets. Treat or replace the dead who were present during your assaults. We further demand you will repay not only the monetary harm you have caused us over our lifetime, starting with $1 million to each for the interim, but we also demand the seizure of all assets of every single military-industrial complex entity, other affiliated contractors, private businesses, corporations, medical laboratories, hospitals, universities, tech companies, private security firms, private citizens, etc., affiliated with this criminal effort or whose weapons products were used to harm us. We further demand that the assets of every single organization which facilitated our persecution, torture, and murder be seized for future redistribution to us, their victims. We also demand that the CEOs, presidents, managers, employees of all such entities who knew about and facilitated this program have all their personal and corporate assets seized, added to the pot, and be tried, imprisoned, executed for crimes against humanity and war crimes, as well as human trafficking as appropriate by military tribunal forthwith. We also demand that every single person in the chain of command, private or government, local or federal, who knew about and carried out this program or even covered up for it, be dealt with similarly, as well as greedy, psychopathic, infregard civilian co-conspirators who gladly participated, as well as affiliated non-member civilians in our towns and our neighborhoods. We furthermore demand exemptions from all taxes whatsoever, state, federal, sales tax, property tax, inheritance taxes for the children and families of victims. We demand special status and ID reflecting that, so authorities who ignored and abused us will know to give us due respect, courtesy, and know that we cannot be hassled for fabricated or even minor infractions without serious consequences to them and their careers. Our requests and questions will be handled properly, never blown off or responded to with false information. Our special IDs will bring us to the front of any line or wait for service, as well as if we wish it in retribution to a society that gratuitously treated us worse than dirt. If we so wish it, we will be given land upon which to build a community or several communities to live separately and protected from a society which so heinously and cruelly abused us. We will decide the rules and laws of that community, but in accordance with the Constitution, and we will be provided a special force by the federal government, superseding all others, for our protection, but under our authority following the Constitution. We demand a top-quality medical center as well in any such community or access to one nearby. We also demand that any community we deem necessary be built with state-of-the-art materials to fully protect us from any directed energy weapons attacks ever again, and that a special security service be employed 24/7 to detect and neutralize such threats, along with state-of-the-art devices and methodologies to protect us from toxic gases and poisons. And individuals' houses not in such a community must meet similar standards, however. We demand full autonomy over any community or communities we deem needed or desired, with the ability to deny entry to anyone. We also demand that as many as possible of our persecutors never return to society, and that their crimes can only be characterized as human predation, which cannot be cured any more than rabies in a dog. After prison terms, if not executed, they will be housed in separate camps and given menial jobs for the rest of their lives. It can be assumed that all such victims have PTSD or anxiety issues and need safe haven. Many indeed may choose to live within the society, but they must be given deference and respect in reference to the above. In reference to the abuse they suffered at the hands of a callous and predatory society. They must have authorities instructed to snap to the fulfillment of their needs. Remuneration will be made up from seized assets based on number of years targeted, actual losses, career potential sabotage, punitive damages for emotional, mental, and physical damage, and from government payments to the victims for the rest of their lives for insult and injury wrongfully inflicted upon them and their family members. The details are negotiable to a degree, but you understand our mindset at such depraved betrayal by our own country and government. What needs to happen now is the targeted individual's ability to immediately apply for help as a human trafficking victim and be given safe harbor, sustenance, and medical treatment, as well as full protection. We are dying and incurring fatal injuries and permanent damage right now due to a rogue corporatocracy and police state for profit. I await your reply on how we may get started right away to get these victims to safety. We can guide you as to how to flush out these criminals, and then I add this, a very good technical guide to finding computer-based illegal hacking and tracking of us by various entities can be found on BB Peach's YouTube under SH_P. It is invaluable. And then I sign my name. So that is the list of demands to get their attention.
Well, They're very thorough and they're well thought out, and I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, thank you. And, people are absolutely welcome to write to me and comment and say, I don't like this or I do like this. And you can incorporate them in anything that you want to write, that's fine. Or, change them to something that I haven't thought of. That would be fine too. But this is a start. This is not in concrete. This is a start. So I wanted to get their attention.
Well, I hope they pay attention to it. So let's talk a little bit about, I had a question here I wanted to pose to you. So my question is, because I want people to know, because they're new, and there's a lot of newcomers on this call, about the past couple of years and the momentum and the movement that has occurred in our community. So in the past couple of years or several years, in your own opinion, what's the most exciting developments that have arisen in the community? And also we can talk about the United Nations, which there are some really great things have come out of that. There's just the sheer fact that the United Nations took an interest in us and our community, and some of the leaders around the globe who consider themselves to be targeted individuals while running successful organizations. What do you think? What is your opinion? We'll start with the United Nations because that's the most recent thing, and I'd love to get your input, pros and cons, and what you think is the most important for us to focus on.
Well, right now, my opinion is that Magnus Olson and the people who have been working with the UN have done a magnificent thing. There are some detractors who say, well, I talked to the UN and they wouldn't do a thing for me. Okay, but these people have been working with the United States, the United Nations, trying to get their attention and trying to explain things for several years, and they've been very dogged about it. And they finally got the attention of Nils Melzer, who is the special rapporteur for torture. All right, so this is something, even if they had only gotten the United Nations to recognize and define this crime, which they have now decided to call cyber torture. I mean, some people don't like that name, but it's a name. We can at least point to it when we talk to police or friends or acquaintances. We can talk about that and say, okay, then how come somebody has gone to the trouble of naming it and defining it if it's our imagination? So to me, this is a huge thing because we can point to this and make people just absolutely dumbfounded in their usual arguments. Well, I never heard of it, or I don't think that's true. They'll be slapped down immediately because the UN is recognizing this. Now, I did get some points from Liliana, who has been working on this, as well as Magnus Olson. And she wanted people to know that the UN Special Rapporteur went way out of his way to request permission to the Human Rights Commissioner and the Secretary General to add this form of torture with new technologies called cyber torture to his mandate. He coined the term cyber torture and described it in Section E of his report to the UN Human Rights Council as a form of physical and psychological torture with modern technologies. He also added 5 references describing it from 5 different authors. The Secretary General stated on his opening statement to the 43rd session of the Human Rights Council on February 24th that he was dismayed at the forms of torture with new technologies being used worldwide, and he was very concerned that his country of birth, Portugal, had thousands of victims of this. He stated that he will support the UN Special Rapporteur for adding cyber torture to his mandate. I believe the Secretary General is Gutierrez, if I remember his name correctly, and then the UN Special Rapporteur for torture is Nils Melzer. Okay. The Secretary General stated on June 26, International Day in support of victims of torture, that international networks of torturers should be dismantled worldwide. Melzer did not have to undertake such a political and complex issue in his mandate, but he recognized it as a crime against humanity affecting millions of people worldwide, and he is going out of his way to eradicate this heinous war crime for the world. Now, he has stated that he will, and he hopes it is eradicated in at least 2 years, 4 years at the most. Of course, we are certainly hoping it is before. We're hoping it's 2 years or less. But this is, to my way of thinking, very big that it has been recognized, because that is the giant hurdle. If somebody doesn't think it's possible, then they think it's not happening. And this destroys that argument. Even if the UN did nothing else, this helps us tremendously, because we can present this to the United States and say, Secretary of State Pompeo, you say the United States doesn't torture people. Well, what is this? Why is the UN saying that all these countries are torturing their people with high tech? And we can point to federal law that basically says you can't use high tech, like radio frequency and things like that. You can't use that to destroy other people's property, much less harm them. And that is an executive order, and we are backed by several executive orders, one of them that says you cannot conduct psychological operations on Americans on American territory. And that's being done. There just all kinds of federal laws and executive orders are absolutely being trampled upon. So this adds to the weight of our argument, and I think it's a good thing. And I praise the people who have accomplished this, because I think it is a tremendous step in the right direction.
Did you read the response from the United States in regards to the statement?
I haven't. Do you have it?
I don't have it in front of me. It was read on my call, but it was not. They did not support it, and that was. It made me angry. I was really angry to hear that their response was so negative, and it probably has to do with the Patriot Act, because so much of this is about surveillance abuse, and it's not in line with the Patriot Act and their surveillance abuses.
They have not renewed their mandate to conduct surveillance upon us. So now, since we are being still, quote unquote, surveilled, which we know is torture, they are breaking their own law. What we're trying to figure out now is under what mandate do they continue, because they have not renewed it. They have not succeeded in renewing. In fact, Trump told Republican congressmen who were set to vote on it, because they were trying to get it tweaked, and he said, no, it can't be tweaked. And my letters to them said the same thing. I said, it can't be tweaked. It is broken beyond fixing. You need to vote it down and start again, or not start, So he essentially told his main supporters, no, we're not voting on it because it can't be fixed. So right now they have no mandate, legal right to do it, yet they're doing it anyway. What is the legalistic sleight of hand that they're using to continue to do it? Or is it just, well, we can do it because nobody can catch us? We don't quite know yet.
If anybody has the response letter that was read on my Thursday call from the United States, can you please email it to me? Lily, the woman who read it, was going to send it to me, and she posted on my Facebook, but it wasn't what I was looking for. It was the video page where you can actually listen to it. And if you guys do want to listen to it, you have to scroll through a lot. They make several announcements a day, it seems, at least according to what I'm seeing here. And you could go to webtv.un.org. And I looked up, I don't even know if this is the correct one, but I know that the date was the 15th. I believe that was the day, right? Thursday?
Yes, October 15th.
The day of the Assembly, the General Assembly, the 75th. And yes, so you can look that up and listen to it. But what I'm looking for is the response that Lily had. If someone wants to email me that or drop it in the chat, I'd be grateful. And then she also sent me the written document, the written statement, and it's quite long here. So it's the General Assembly, March 20th, 2020, and this Yeah, this is a while back, but this looks like the beginning of it all. Then when they first discussed, it says torture and other cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment reported to the special rapporteur. And it goes into it, and at the very, very end, which was fascinating, hold on, page, let's see, trying to get to it here. So one of the conclusions at the very end on page 21, it says, well, I'll start with 86. 86 and 87 are the points. It says 86 is torture's environment. In practice, torture victims are almost always exposed to a combination of techniques and circumstances, inflicting both mental and physical pain or suffering, the severity of which depends on factors such as duration, accumulation, and personal vulnerability. Victims tend to experience and respond to torture holistically and not as a series of isolated techniques and circumstances, each of which may or may not amount to torture. Accordingly, psychological torture may be committed in one single act or omission, or can result from a combination of, what happened there, of, the intentionally purposefulness and severity of the inflicted pain or suffering must always be assessed as a whole and in light of the circumstances prevailing in a given environment. And so this 87 was challenges. So challenges of new technologies in order to ensure the adequate implementation of the prohibition of torture and related international legal obligations in present and future circumstances, its interpretation should evolve in line with new challenges and capabilities arising in relation to emerging technologies, not only in cyberspace, but also in areas such as artificial intelligence, robotics, nanotechnology, and neurotechnology, or pharmaceutical and biomedical sciences, including so-called human enhancement. So I love page 21 and 22. Yeah, and I can send that to you. Mm-hmm.
Or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What did you say? I couldn't hear your response. It could be my phone.
Oh, no. I was saying, well, it sounds like transhumanism, whether we want it or not, which is horrific.
It is. Because basically we're losing our own individual thoughts. And
yes.
It's just, I mean, when you go down that rabbit hole, you can just think of all the crimes being committed. Number one, you have privacy, ideas, physical. It's just basically a stealing of the individual's being, really, and trying to control humanity at the very essence, which is in our mind.
Indeed, and it's destroying humanity at the same time because they want to be able to access newborn babies and implant them and take over their lives immediately, so they won't even have a chance to be human.
Yep, that's very bothersome. So we touched upon the United Nations, and then what about the Michael Flynn involvement and interest in target individuals? Because I don't know a lot about it, but I did see a video, and the man claims to be a dear friend of Michael Flynn. Do you have any comments on that, or what was your perception with statements and comments being made on this topic?
Well, I will say that I reached out to his lawyer, and in order to not waste her time, because I'm not paying her for her time, I introduced myself, and I told her that I, too, had been attacked for telling the truth and knowing things that bad guys at NSA did not want me to know. And I described briefly being a targeted individual and told her that there were many, many, many more like that in the United States being victimized by fusion centers who were basically doing the same thing to us that they did to Flynn, which is setting us up, criminalizing us, and then persecuting us. And I offered my story and my testimony in case it might help General Flynn. And the response that I got back was that they were so very sorry to hear about these circumstances, and they thanked me for telling them about what was going on. So I made brief contact. I'm hoping that stays in their minds and that when they can, they will bring that up with other people and more thoroughly investigate it. Now, one thing I found intriguing was the Trump people mentioned briefly, I don't know how serious they were, but they mentioned briefly that Sidney Powell, who is Flynn's lawyer, might make a good director of the FBI. I have no idea if she would take them up on that or if they would actually offer that to her, but that would be very intriguing because she would not play games. She would clean out the FBI the way it needs to be cleaned out.
Well, that's also something very hopeful. It's all these things that we're going to be discussing, and there's many more things as well. Like I know Homeland Security announced about the technologies that are used against so many of us. And I think he said something about space wars and satellites. And do you know what I'm referring to, Karen?
Vaguely right now because I've been so very busy with some other topics, but I was glad to see the Department of Homeland Security director replaced and a newer one put in charge. I'm still waiting to see what I think about him, but I'm wondering how much of the Department of Homeland Security is still functioning under the cabal that ran it for so very many years, and if and when they're going to be able to ferret those people out. I did get a lead on somebody in the Department of Homeland Security who is not a regular person for people to write to, and sent him kind of a tell-all letter. Now people say, well, have you gotten any responses? I don't get a lot of responses. I've gotten some very minor responses, but what I'm hoping for, and this also prompted me to write the judge in Virginia who declared the watch list to be unconstitutional. I wrote to him saying, I know I have no standing in this lawsuit because CARE brought a lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security in regard to their own people, Muslim Americans who have been hassled for being Muslims, no-fly, basically put on the no-fly list and then further hassled. And I wrote to him, I said, this is all disturbing, but it is nothing compared to what they're doing to people who are born and bred in the United States and have been here for generations. And did I hope that he would include us in the lawsuit? No, we have no standing. But what I wanted to do, and with most of my letters, what I'm trying to do is get people talking. I want senators and congressmen and judges and people like that talking, saying, what is this woman talking about? And I do use my title from NSA to catch their attention. Not because I was ever proud to have worked for NSA. No, they turned out to have been backstabbing slime bags. So I'm not happy about that. But I do use the title when I sign the letters to get their attention. Because to have worked at the National Security Agency, you had to have gone through psychological evaluations, background checks, polygraphs, et cetera, et cetera. So this is not just somebody fabricating something to bother them with. So that's why I use my title, But like I said, I hope that my letters, along with the rest of the letters that people write, are getting their attention and making them understand there is a problem. It's not just one or two people writing some crazy story to them. There is a problem, and I personally have been writing letters several years. I've written to
I know you have
several times, and they're very consistent. And I'm trying to pick and choose the people I write. Like I think it was a year ago that I wrote to the Congressional Caucus for Directed Energy Weapons, and I said you're basically being played. I said, these people are testing out these weapons on us. So anybody I think can make a difference, I target them for letters.
I sent faxes. I think those are very powerful because you know how like emails are diamond. People receive influxes of emails. So for Liliana had said, oh, you should try sending faxes. And so I took the the flyer that was used. Now, basically, we tried to restructure a little bit and make it more easy to understand some of the cyber torture information and about the United Nations interest in it. So I faxed it to every senator and every congressperson, like you know, and then I even started, what I didn't realize is there's even more. I started in some of the states, the representatives of each state. We have a lot of people in our government. And what happened, Karen, is they had went on our website, because we had several, Frank's was on there, ours was on there, PAX was on there. So what happened was they subscribed. All of a sudden I had this uptick of subscriptions or subscribing to the newsletter. And so when I sent out the next newsletter, I got all these auto responses from these senators and congressmen. It's like, oh, we're due to COVID, we're not in the office. I'm like, oh my God, all these, we have all these people, and maybe it's just 50, but I think it was like 50 that subscribed out of all those faxes. So that was really fascinating.
Yeah, because those are key people. They are the people who care.
Mm-hmm. They really do, or someone in their office does. I was so surprised.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And then I reached out to one of them in West Virginia, and I said, hey, can I interview on my radio show? And she said, sure, we'll have to work it out. So I'm going to interview the West Virginian congressperson. Yeah, one of them.
That's great.
Sometimes there's multiple congresspeople. Yeah.
Now, you gave me some really good advice to go to LinkedIn. And
isn't that the best? Yeah.
Yes. And I just
did
an interview with in Other News Radio. I think that was last week. And and then I met somebody on LinkedIn, and we just did a kind of alternative TV interview, which apparently they're going to post or something next month. But they thought it went really well. And so I was very pleased to hear that. So I've been talking to a lot of people on LinkedIn and getting the news out there, and that's because of you. So I hadn't thought of that. You suggested it, and I said that's a fantastic idea.
Well, I knew it was professional, and I'm like, you know what? The kind of people I need to get in touch with to share about our topic and to get these people to interview so I can even, form some kind of relationship with them. We're on LinkedIn. I'm like, I started searching. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's on LinkedIn, even Oprah Winfrey. So I was like, this is the way to go. And I'm so glad you found it useful too. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are times every so often I get an email from LinkedIn, and it said, oh, you're being noticed. And I'll look, and there's like 467 people have looked at my profile that week.
And you can even see who is looking. Like I had all these government people looking. And if you pay for the other one's really expensive. I don't pay for the other one, but they give you the general idea. The most. Remember, I would send you screenshots of the people that were viewing the profile. I'd like look who's looking. I think I don't remember if it was you, but I used to send my screenshots of the people that are viewing the page, or the profile. So it's been a very useful tool, and you can really connect with people. Just have to do it very professionally. It's a professional site, so that's kind of the expectations they have, is that people, anybody out there that wants to get involved with that and be able to connect to people you wouldn't even imagine. That's a really good way to do it. But I don't want it, what is it, like $150 a month or something? It's something crazy. It's for the...
No, I can't do that. Mine is the lower, it's good enough.
But as soon as you start getting more friends, you have access to more, as you notice. Like you may get nothing, because you have to connect to people to message them. But it's worked out pretty well for me, just doing it that way. Although there's people that says you can't, like a lot of the senators and congressmen, you have to have the expensive, I forget what it's called, the LinkedIn
the
membership.
Premium.
Premium, that's what it is. Yeah, so it's very useful, very, very useful indeed. And what other topics are interesting? The heat ray. There's all these articles. I know Matthew and I did like a media push and a social media push with the when he went down to Black Lives Matters, he saw he knew exactly what it was, like an active denial system. And I know that, and I'm sure other people did as well, but all I know is that every outlet around the world was talking about it, that Trump had these types of weapons outside the White House.
Well, I think that was because there seemed to be a threat that people would try to overrun the White House.
Right, but what it proves is that the technology exists, right? It's like they were saying, oh, that, I don't know about you, but I hear, oh, that technology doesn't exist. Even my husband goes, oh, that's like on my video games. And, well, your video games are based on military technology, So, yeah, so that was a really interesting article.
Yes, they were also considered for the caravan of immigrants who were threatening to come over the border and invade the United States. They were also considered using that type of weapon to push them back. So these types of weapons are becoming more prominent in the news, and it's getting harder and harder for people to say, well, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, they can't say that anymore. That's my point exactly, Karen. It's just there's so much out there between the Cuban embassy workers. Like that was like, whoa, what? Like that was like the first wake-up call because it was everywhere that people started realizing there was technology that maybe they didn't understand or didn't know about yet. And now with all the forthcoming articles and information about this advanced technology, there's a shift, absolutely a shift.
Well, it's undeniable at this point. They can't say they don't exist. And in fact, Midge has told me that Dr. Hoffer took some of her pictures, some of her horrible pictures of being burned in her bed as she slept, third-degree burns, swelling, and took them to Washington to show people and talk to them about the fact that these weapons are being used on Americans, innocent Americans, in their own homes, and very often as they slept. So this is percolating. Even a couple of years ago, it wasn't percolating.
Karen, I didn't even tell you, I just got the article. They did an article about, I don't know why now, but there was an article, I have to find the source, about our billboards, and it was positive. It said, billboards. Okay. See, have you seen these billboards that are popping up around the world? And I guess I had gone to the website and created an article, and I was so happy. I just saw it.
That is fantastic. I mean, I was absolutely ecstatic when you started that program. I said, this is just wonderful.
Yeah, and I'm just happy that all of a sudden. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's so many people to praise. I mean, I praise you and Matt, and there's so many other people all doing their own thing, but all doing wonderful things. I mean, sometimes people will criticize each other, and my philosophy is leave them alone. Let them do what needs to be done. If they succeed, wonderful. If they don't, so what? Then they try something else.
Yeah, they'll learn. Right. And and everybody has different ways of looking at things, different perspectives, perceptions. Even in a group of like really tight-knit friends, people have different ideas about the technology. So it just happens, and decent human beings give people, they allow them to have different ideas. Having a different idea doesn't mean they're perp. It doesn't mean they're idiots or anything like that. They just have a different idea. And with time, people are able to sort things out. And, when people are traumatized, they're not thinking that clearly. So it's really difficult. We're not only trying to heal ourselves, we're trying to expose this. And we're seeking validation, enduring continuous torture, at least most people I know. And it's very difficult. So sometimes it's difficult to be civilized, and, people want someone to be angry at. So let's not let it be our other fellow community members. And that's just my bit of, that's just something that I hold dear to my heart, and I want people to realize that people have different views and different ideas, and don't hate them for it. If you want to do it better or in the way that you think you want to do it, go do it yourself,
Right.
Because it's disheartening to see when people attack each other. We all need to support all the movements, in my opinion, because you never know. I think it's just everyone working together, doing their part, like you said, moving us forward, pushing us forward. That's what's making the difference. And also, I have to thank Trump for this. Alternative news has a lot of attention now for the things he said and how he, calls out some of the mainstream as fake news. Basically, because I've been involved with media now for a while, there's like one provider, some source information. They basically print all the same thing that's provided. So it's very controlled in that way, or it's just the go-to, with a lot of the newspapers and publications. And so I love that there's all this attention on alternative media. But there's so much attention on it that people are trying to undermine the freedom of speech. And but freedom of speech is in a government public place. It's not necessarily, but in theory, we should be able to talk about things. We should be able to have COVID conversations. We should be able to talk about anonymous. I can't even say the word on the phone because the algorithm will pick it up and probably remove me from YouTube. So I have to be careful. But there's a lot of different people out there and groups and organizations who are just tired of what's been going on in the world, and they're trying to let people know the truth. But with the truth, we have to be discerning as well. We can't believe everything, but we cannot not believe at the same time.
Well, there's some wild things that you would never have believed years ago that may turn out to be absolutely true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I tell people, consider this might be true. Not that it's true, but consider it might be.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been
you just
so
don't
much.
know. Time will prove it. Time will prove or disprove it, right?
Oh, exactly.
Right. I have people in the queue and they want to talk, so we'll bring them into the conversation. Hold on. Let's see. There she is. I have Deb and Margaret on the line.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Deb.
Hello?
Oh, hi there. I thought you were Deb. Go ahead. Hi.
No, I'm not Deb. I'm glad to be on, and hi, Ella. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really great tonight. And I want to say hi to Karen. It's a pleasure to hear your voice again. And I have a question.
Sure.
My question regards the way that it seems like directed energy is delivered. It seems to me that there are basically two forms. One is where it can be directed as a continuous beam, and the other seems to be almost as though I'm not technically inclined on these things, but almost like a burst of energy. It can be directed and then released at a certain point in space. And I just wanted to ask you, Karen, if you have any more insights into that kind of distinction of how these energy weapons are used, and what would be your recommendations for shielding from both forms.
Well, I'm going to tell you that my experiential opinion, because I did not work on these weapons. The only thing that I knew about directed energy weapons when I was at NSA was that they were large weapons that were for the war arena, and I mostly pictured them on battleships. I really didn't know until later that they had miniaturized them to be anti-personnel weapons. So that is something I found out later, but I think you are entirely correct in that they can be beams that basically bathe your home or your living quarters in, in this electromagnetic field or a radio frequency field, and it would affect you, your family, your pets. But they can also do bursts. Some of them are like plasma bursts that if you're standing there with a baking sheet, let's say, you will hear a bang. So I've experienced both. I would tell people what can be used to make yourself kind of a sleep bunker. I've recommended aluminum screening, which reduces RF. You get a 4-foot wide roll of it and put it around your bed like a wall, and then you put polycarbonate paneling, which you can get at Lowe's, I think, also in a 4-foot by 26-inch piece. Stack that all around your bed, and then also put maybe Reflectix 4-foot that you can get as attic insulation. Let's see what else. And inside you can use, and believe it or not, dog cool gel beds will mitigate some of the weapons that seem to feel prickly. You know, like everything is surrounding you and sticking you with pins. That seems to mitigate that, because the gel will slow down the beam that's hitting you. So I sleep on top and under one of those extra large dog cool gel bed. And I will tell you, the one that is a blue panel instead of the tubes is much better, because the tubes tend to have the gel slide to one end or the other, and that does you no good whatsoever. What else? There are silicone baking mitts that you can get at Walmart. Silicone is a rubbery material that reduces heat. Okay, so that has cloth on one side, silicone on the other, and you can actually stick that in your clothes to try to keep your body from being burned. And the cloth material needs to touch your skin, not the silicone, because the silicone will suffocate your skin and cause you to have nasty sores. So you turn it around and make the cloth next to your skin. What else?
What about Mylar?
Mylar. And also you can find something that is either it is a poster board, or it is actually another paper material that can be called holographic, or it can be called a mercury finish. And that also, believe it or not, will shield you from some of the emanations that they shoot at you.
That sounds like something that's hard to obtain, no?
At an art store.
Oh, really? What was it called again? What did you call it?
You can ask for something. Yeah, you can ask for a roll of, you can either ask for a poster board that has a holographic finish or a mercury finish. And you can tell, because you can tell if you move the poster board and you see a rainbow that moves, that's a holographic or mercury finish. And they even make baseball caps for kids like that. So that actually helps too. But they also make the holographic shine or a shiny material into rolls of paper that you can glue to something. I'm not sure what it is that they're doing in the art store with this stuff, but you could put it on a wall or another poster board that's not made from this material, and have it very flexible to use.
So I need to upgrade my shielding a little bit. I'm still using flat moving boxes lined with aluminum foil, layers of aluminum foil, and then divided with another flat moving box, and then more layers of foil, and then a final moving layer of final moving box, all taped together with duct tape, taped along all four sides. And it's a movable, very practical shield, and you can make as many of them as you want to. But you're saying I would probably even benefit more with the polycarbonate and the Reflectix. And
the polycarbonate, the carbon in it mitigates the heat. What you're looking for are reflective materials to bounce the emanations back, but also ones that absorb the heat so that by the time they get to you, they're little to nothing. They're not affecting you. I mean, when I go behind the polycarbonate and I'm being hit with whatever the directed energy weapon is that kind of surrounds you and makes everything prickle. I don't even know what more to say. But
I'm sorry, I was just asking. That's a panel. Did you say it was a panel?
Yes, it is a corrugated panel. You can get various sizes, but what I get is the 4-foot by 26 inch, and then they make them also 6 feet by 24 inches, and then also 8 feet by 24 inches, which is an incredibly awkward size to use. So I just get the smaller panels. You can have plastic polycarbonate or polycarbonate. Polycarbonate is usually clear, but they both do the job. And like I said, the 6 foot and 8 feet are rather awkward to use, except for when you put it on top of your bed, around that little bunker. So you usually need it like 6 feet if you're going to lay it on top of your, along the length of your bed, as where the ones that are 4 foot will stand up all around your bed and make a little wall.
Do you think it'd be beneficial to put a layer between the mattress and that box spring?
You could, because the box springs, of course, have metal, and some of these weapons are attracted to metal. I have also used mirrors facing outward and put the mirrors under the bed facing down, because sometimes some of these weapons will come up from the floor below or from the ground.
Yeah, I have a basement below me, but there's all the electric for the whole apartment building is right underneath my bedroom, unfortunately.
Oh, so I would definitely put the same material underneath. Put the mirrors down first to reflect anything, and then some of these other things on top of it to basically block it or reflect it or absorb it.
Where would you say is a good place to buy mirrors at a reasonable price, just simple mirrors?
I think Home Depot or Lowe's, you buy the mirrors that people put on their door to see if they look good. See if the outfit is they're $5.
Oh, great. Terrific. That's great. Hey, you've really been a big help to me, and I thank you so much.
Well, certainly. I mean, the only thing better is if we could afford the $300 paint that's electromagnetic field paint, which is like $200, $300 a bucket. So if you can do that, I'd do that first.
Well, I can't. I'm renting, so that's out.
Yeah. Well, also, if you think about it, if you need spot protection, Teflon is fantastic. I would love to have siding for the house made of Teflon. And the best Teflon that I found is actually copper infused. And you can get that at Bed Bath & Beyond for cheap. I mean, these are cookie sheets that usually are $16 for a large size, and you can buy them there for $7.99.
And they're Teflon infused with copper.
Yes. I mean, Teflon is good, period.
Yeah.
But Teflon infused with copper
I know.
is better.
I've seen that. I've experienced what you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation with the pinging noise on a cookie sheet or a baking sheet. But I don't know if it has Teflon on it. No.
Oh, yeah. And you don't want to be hit with one of those things because it could kill you, depending on where it hits in your body.
Yeah, wow. Well, thanks again. I'll let somebody else talk, and appreciate the call.
Certainly. Well, thank you. Thanks very much. And if you'd like to ask a question or join the conversation, you can *6. And now we have one of our other favorite ladies. Let me get her. Well, hello, Midge.
Well, hi, guys. How are you?
Oh, we're good. How are you?
Great interview, Karen and Ella. You two are two of the best warriors in the community, and I mean warriors with a capital W.
Thank you.
We all go way back. I met Karen many years ago, and I dubbed her Jedi Flashlight at one point, so I have a nickname for her because she is such a warrior. And, she writes these letters not just for herself, but she writes them for the community. So we are so blessed and so lucky to have you, Karen, and that you're so down to earth. You describe this in a way that people can understand. But here's one of the biggest things about Karen. She has one of the biggest hearts in this community, one of the biggest hearts that I have ever met, seriously. She's always willing to help whoever, and she has helped me so many times, and I was so blessed to meet her on one of my trips to Washington, D.C. last year. And she is just as kind and good as she is on these calls and stuff. She's just a wonderful lady. But I want people to know, Karen,
thank you,
because you don't toot your own horn, that
no, she doesn't.
Nope, she is willing to help whomever. And most of you don't know that we do have someone in the community who is deaf. He does not read lips. I've known him for a long time, and he was at the D.C. rally last year. And he's just a wonderful person, and I've gotten to know his family because they didn't understand what was going on with him, and obviously he didn't either. But what happened was that he was railroaded to go to he had to go see a psychiatrist. We know how this goes, right? And he told the psychiatrist that he had a friend named Midge that was helping him, and he showed a picture, blah, 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 blah. The psychiatrist turned everything around, told him he was delusional in this letter because there's that show on TV, I think Netflix, called The Amazing Miss Maisel, whose main character is named Midge. And they accused him of being delusional, that he has formed this fictional, has this fictional person, and he thinks that this person on TV is his friend. Okay. So, and he has an attorney. Well, he needs help. He needs, I'm not a writer. Karen's the writer, so I called her up, and I just said, can you please help him? He needs a letter written to his attorney. And she did. She talked to him. He has a service that you can call on the phone, and then the translator will, you talk to her, and then she does the sign language on a little machine that he can see. So Karen has been so kind to help him, and he's been trying to get someone to do that for a long time. And my writing skills aren't anything like Karen's. So she was kind enough to do that, and that just meant the world to him and probably has saved him in many, many ways. And, he's so proud to have this letter with Karen's name on it that he can show, his attorney and his doctor. And I think you have saved him, Karen, in many, many ways. So she just doesn't walk the walk or walk the talk. I mean, she does it. I mean, she's just not full of fluff. She does it. And so, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for helping George. I just really appreciate that. And I know he does too. I hear from him every single week. And he is just amazed that you, Karen, took the time and energy and that you cared enough to help him. So,
you know what? I'm going to call her I have a name for Karen, the powerhouse of the TI community. She's a powerhouse.
Oh, my goodness. No kidding. She is. So I know there's so many other people that you have helped. I know there was at one time where I didn't know how to protect myself, and I remember I was in a Hobby Lobby because I had heard Karen on a show, and she just says, you need to go to Hobby Lobby. You can get these sheets of copper. And so I was standing in Hobby Lobby, and I said, hi, this is so-and-so, and I was scared to death, and I said, can you help me? And she did, and she told me what to get, and there's so many things that Karen has done. She was, as well as Ella, with me on the board of directors for Targeted Justice for a long time, so we all have worked together in many different capacities and have been good friends for years, but one of the kindest people I have ever met, and a tremendous warrior, Karen. You should be so proud, seriously. And Karen's life isn't easy. I mean, I've heard her describe some of the things that she goes through. And here she is, speaking on behalf of so many people and writing these letters. And I love your demand letter. Oh, my gosh. That is incredible. I'd like to have a copy of that. That is really quite significant, I think, and is exactly what we need to be doing. We have every right to demand every single thing that Karen has written. And so my hat off to you, Karen. Bravo. Good job.
Well, thank you. And this is this is yet another reason that I would like people to take heart and be encouraged, because I'm working with some absolutely fabulous warriors in this community, and I've seen the signs of some new people who came along with fantastic ideas, and they're just as much warriors as some of us oldsters, and I'm absolutely very proud of them to see them stepping in and doing what they can. There's always room for new ideas and more efforts, and I am very thrilled and proud to have worked with Ella and Midge and a few of the other people that I was, basically lucky enough to work with. So I do thank you so much. And like I said, I want people to take heart that things are being done. There are people in the community that work almost every minute to try to get through to the right people and emphasize this is being done. We need help. We need help now. And when you write letters and I write letters, we are basically supporting each other because, like I said, you can have somebody write a letter and have somebody blow it off as, oh, that's a crackpot. But if the same person gets 5 letters from all over the United States or 20 letters from all over the United States, an intelligent person has got to go, something's up. This is not right. Why are 5 or 10 or 20 or 100 people from around the United States telling me exactly the same thing or pretty close to the same thing? So don't think your letters don't count. Do please support us and write your own letters. You can send, I send my letters to anybody who wants them. You can put my letter in an envelope along with yours and say, all right, this is what's happening to me too. Here's my story.
That's excellent. Excellent idea, Karen. Yeah, you can take, her writing is incredible. She's done so many great papers. You guys use the information that she has provided, and that you can use her letters like she said. This is an A+ for the community,
Mm-hmm. Okay, at this point, because there's quite a few people, I'm going to go ahead and just try to do, I'm going to take it off Q&A, and so people, we can have like a group conversation. So let me go ahead and try that. But with that said, don't unmute until you have, unless you're going to speak, and then when you're done speaking, just mute your handset because there's always noise in the background and on the line. So let's try that right now. Let me change that mode. Let's see if I can get back to it. Here we go. Okay, so Karen, if you'd like to unmute, and Midge, and anyone else. I know there was people waiting in the queue.
This is Jesse Call. I'll be quick because I saw a lot of people waiting in the queue, and they need to.
Hey, Jesse.
What an awesome, uplifting presentation you gave, Karen. And Ella, thank you for guiding her along, although Karen doesn't ever need much guiding.
No, she doesn't.
So I can reiterate, I was having a hard day one day and got on the phone with Karen, and she just wore me right out with the support she was giving me. So my whole purpose is, about healing and uplifting and bringing comedy, and comedy's, something that I use as much as possible. But just the healing effort, moving forward and bringing a spark back into the lives of all of us that have been going through all this. So that's really what I've got a lot of points that I could talk about and that were, would mesh with what you're talking about, Karen. But I think right now other people need to talk, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, Ella. Hi, Karen.
Hey.
My name is Christian. I got a question for you. Actually, 2 questions. What are our viewpoints on my labs? And the other question is what is our viewpoints on this agency, whoever it is, NSA or whatever, using us, doing empirical studies to study computer telepathy interface?
I didn't catch the very first part of it that you said, my something, MyArs?
MyLab. It's a term has to do with extraterrestrials and stuff like that.
Oh, what do I think of that?
Okay,
I might save that for later. I might save that a little bit for later. As far as the agencies or corporations or private firms or medical laboratories who are using us, they have no right. I don't care who they are. And I don't care if it's the head of a federal agency or the president of a company or a CEO. They need to be tried and if convicted, executed, because these are, you can't have more serious crimes. I cut them no slack. Absolutely cut them no slack. And I'm very aware that the United States, after World War II, brought over Nazi scientists because they wanted their knowledge that was gained from horrific experimentation on people. And I would remind the government, if I had a chance, that in the Bible, basically, you don't get to keep goods that are ill-gotten goods. And those were ill-gotten experiments, and the results of which should have been destroyed. And I would like to see everything that has been gotten from us destroyed. They have no right to it. And I'm sorry is not going to cut it. Now, as far as the technology goes, what's being used on us is 60, 70 years ahead of the technology that we're familiar with in day-to-day life. Now, some people think that's from extraterrestrials. Some people think it's demonic from another dimension. But whatever it is, it needs to be destroyed and forbidden. Because obviously human beings cannot have access to something like this without abusing it. Now, some of this could create wonderful cures for people with disabilities and sicknesses. That's going to have to be examined very closely. But I would like to see these absolutely outlawed as even weapons of war. The United States actually used microwave weapons in Afghanistan. They had a battle going at the airport at Fallujah. They were unable to make any headway against the Iraqi soldiers, so they basically used a microwave weapon on this entire, and I don't remember if it was a battalion or what, but they hit them with a microwave weapon. They dried all of the liquid out of their bodies, which I can't even imagine how painful that was. And all of these people were, and the term is desiccated, they were dried out immediately and murdered. And they were turned into bags of bones with skin. And the American Army basically gathered up their remains, put them in dump trucks, took about 2 inches of topsoil that would have shown radiation, and they took them out into the middle of the desert and dumped them where nobody could find them. So the families of these men never got their bodies back, and these men died in a horrific war crime. So I don't want these weapons allowed to even a government. And I think that anybody who's found to have been able to make one or is in possession of one, maybe they made it in their garage, they need to have very stern punishment. That device needs to be taken away from them, and they need to face years in prison, if not execution. These are so horrible. I think that would be the proper response of any responsible government, to say these weapons are off limits in any way, shape, or form, whether it's a civilian, police, military, or government.
Bravo!
Bravo!
Bravo.
Yeah. Encore!
So, okay, guys, so I know there were some other people who wanted to ask a question, so just *6 and feel free to ask a question or make a comment.
Hi, Ella, it's Lily.
Well, hi, Lily. You're the person I wanted to ask about the United States response. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time going online. Are you folks online through free conference call?
This is free conference call, yeah.
Yeah, I can only get through on the phone because I don't know the online meeting password. It's like usually use CI Angel.
Yeah, so it is Saturday night call 4.
Saturday night
call and the number 4. Yeah.
Okay, great. Was that Karen just speaking?
Yes, that's Karen.
Yeah. Hi, Karen. I am so happy to meet you. My name is Lily. I've been a TI for 26 years of the most horrendous torture that you have ever heard of. I promise you. I've listened to these calls for almost a year, and I only discovered the community about a year and a half ago, or not even quite that long ago. So I endured all of this trying to understand what was happening to me for so long, to the point where I just was almost vegetative at times and silenced, and did this alone for a very long time, not knowing there was a community, not even knowing what to research. And what you just said to me shot right through me. I haven't heard words like that strongly yet, and I just want to thank you, because that resonated with me, because I have this conviction of, it's almost, I've had to yield of just my place to God, because what they've done has lasted for so long that I can't even tell you. So those words you just spoke, oh my God, about the justice, because there's and the fact that they need to be punished for this, that this is the greatest treason and greatest crimes against humanity I've ever read about, researched, studied. I have a BA in law, did a lot of research in histories, and never have I heard of any prisoners of war other than maybe Mao Zedong and his camps, of any prisoner or victim of neuroweapons. It's 26 years. They don't have prisoners of war in any historical war for 26 years, or any other person, for that point. So I thank you for those words, because they actually comforted me to hear your position about justice. So thank you.
Well, yeah, the government's going to get an earful for me. Absolutely. I'm going to tell them no mercy. And when I pray, I understand we're supposed to forgive, and I understand we're supposed to ask for mercy. But I get to the point of saying, all right, God, give them the mercy they showed us. None.
Well, there's a scripture that says that He wants mercy and not sacrifice. So a lot of these programs that are religious in origin, or have religious overtones, smack of this sacrifice of yourself for the common good, because God would want that, and it's a lie. So I take comfort in the fact that He wants mercy, not sacrifice, because of love. So that's the whole point of the scriptures, and all those lessons that seem so contradictory in Scripture is generally He's trying to teach people to have mercy, that people who are unmerciful won't be shown mercy eventually too. So these people are not merciful. These programs are not merciful. They go beyond the pale of anything ever written that I can find in history. And there will be an accounting. We know this because the crimes are so great that they call for almost like a godlike intervention. They scream of that, I just thank you. I do. And Ella, back to you about, you can talk now. I'll stop. I'm like, so excited to hear those words. I'm not sure what you wanted for, Ella, but I'm here.
Yeah, I was just hoping, I know you posted, Lily, on the Facebook, and somebody, I thought it was you, also read the response from the United States, and I think, I know Karen wanted to see that. Was that you that found it?
Oh, the gentleman on the video. Okay, so as you know, he gave the presentation to the committee, the humanitarian committee, but America sounded off in rebuttal to Meltzer's report. And it's on that video somewhere. I posted it, I think, on Robert Duncan's page in response to the posting of the announcement.
So it's on Robert Duncan's page. Okay.
It might be. It's somewhere on there as far as the actual, but it's everywhere, the actual meeting. So the meeting, which I think was like a little over an hour, had the American gentleman, if you look on Robert's page, you'll see there was a quote from the U.S. saying they disagreed with his report. Was it the Secretary of State? I can't remember exactly who was
probably Pompeo.
The gentleman.
Pompeo's delusional.
Yeah, I don't know who he is. No, I don't know. I don't think that's Pompeo in the.
Hi, Lily.
In the group. But anyway, so yeah, it's definitely on there. It's listed on Robert Duncan's page. I don't have the chat open on Free Conference Call to post it, but if I can get on, I will. I'm not sure if you have chat open, Ella.
Hi, Lily.
I do have chat open. So far, so good, because I had to close my chat on my other one because of that particular character to come on there and just like, I had a lot of problems in my chat, but so far, so good. So I'm very happy to say that.
The police are there. That's why.
Oh, hi. Who's saying hi, Lily? Is that you, Frank?
Yeah, that's me. Hi,
Frank.
Hi, Karen.
Can I
Hi,
give
Lily.
more accolades to Karen?
Karen's wonderful. She's been a guest many times, and she's really become a great friend, Lily. And
always a pleasure to be on your show, Frank, and just to talk to you.
Oh yeah, I'm happy that this Saturday night safe call has come out, because we have had so much trouble with this one particular individual. It's terrible. He is really run through the whole call. I mean, all of them.
Yeah,
but
for
anyway,
4 months, Karen. Yeah, it wasn't fun. Yeah.
Under control.
But that's okay. Good things come out of that, because Frank, you and I probably wouldn't be talking as much, and Midge and I were able to reconnect. So, see, good things came out of that. And that's just a funny thing. You know what I mean? Like, good things come out of bad situations. So.
Yeah, well, we are all reunited once again, and this time forever. Nothing is
That's right.
That.
That's right. We're not going to ever allow this kind of stuff to get in the way. But anyways, to get back to the positive, what else? Is there anybody else? Oh, please.
I like to thank Karen for introducing me to Reflective. It was
great.
I heard a conference call when my targeting first started, and I didn't know what was going on and how to deal with it. And you mentioned Reflective on the call, and I've been using it ever since.
Wonderful.
But I'd like to ask you a question. So thank you. Yes.
Sure.
What do you know about the dust that's being used on many TIs? So they'll put this dust in your clothes, pretty much everywhere in your house. It's some neural dust, and that probably makes their weapons work better. But what do you know about that?
Yeah, let's hear, Karen. I'm curious about your response, because my understanding is that
I'm just saying from the perspective of how my body has been affected by it. So
yeah, I just wanted to finish my thought.
I can tell. Yeah.
I just want to finish my thought. From what I understand, I'm going to let Karen speak also, of course. I just want to say, from what I understand, and maybe Karen's experience, is you don't necessarily need that in order to be harmed by weaponry. So, Karen, what's your thoughts and opinions?
No, I'm telling you that's what's being used on me. So, I'm asking if there's any thought on what it is and how to combat it.
Yeah, I have not personally experienced this, and I have not heard enough about it to form a intelligent opinion. I would have to hear more of the of people's circumstances and experiences, but it does concern me. It very much concerns me. I mean, again, I don't think it's needed, because they will get nano technology into you one way or the other, whether they put it in your food, your drink, or induce a reason for you to go to the hospital where they actually put it in an IV. You know, I had that happen to me in order to exacerbate the bad effects of the weapons hitting me, you know, because I can stand next to somebody and be absolutely miserable and have that person not necessarily even feel the weapons, Though sometimes, I'll get an immediate headache and then somebody I'm near will get a headache maybe 30 minutes later. So it does affect them, but it affects you much more quickly if they have gotten it nano into you that catches, reflects the energy and burns you from within. So that's one of the reasons they use nano. But this dust, I'm not quite sure what different effects it makes. They may be absolutely totally experimenting with what does this do as opposed to the nano we can get into somebody. But I would have to listen to more people's experiences to figure out what really is going on.
I can kind of speak on that because, I've had the professional scans and have seen many doctors who understand what's going on. So, the nano has been identified being in my body, and it lights you up is what it does. And so they have the ability, like if you're in a crowd, they can find you very easily, say in anything, in an arena or at the mall, because it lights you up. So it's throughout your entire system. And then also what was identified is that it's in some of the medicine, which works in conjunction with some of the implants. And so there's different things, and it's very disturbing to know that they're putting it in medication. So you can research it, okay, and you can look at the medication you're on, and you can research it and see if nano is in that medication. But you're absolutely right; they're introducing this in many, many, many ways.
They even have it in toothpaste now.
Oh, may I be heard?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, they're advertising toothpaste now that has nanotechnology in it to keep your enamel from decaying. So that was not good news. But
the whole body is made up of electrons.
I just want to say something really quick. I had to mute some people because you had background noise or you're making comments under your breath and things like that. So it's not personal. I just heard noise and just muted it. So, again, just unmute when you're going to ask your question. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Midge.
Karen?
Yeah.
Hello. You can hear me? Oh, yay. So this is Laura from Colorado. Thank you so much for the 2 friends you sent me.
Good.
That I've met, and thank you so much for helping George. He is also a friend, and let me tell you something about this man. He was amazing. We gave away flyers in D.C., and he had the best luck out of any of us giving away these flyers. He gave away all, his whole stack, like really fast. And I watched him because I couldn't figure it out. It was because he was silent. He was silent, and people would, he was, I guess, not screaming or yelling or, saying, hey, these direct energy weapons. So people took the flyer. I just noticed that, and he was an amazing man to hang out with. And also, could we get your email, Karen?
Oh yes, KAM56@me.com. Yeah, I still have some more things to do for George. I've been absolutely swamped trying to catch up, so I'm not ignoring people. I am just doing the best I can.
You're busy, Karen.
You're amazing, Karen. I want people to realize, I know we all get targeted, and there's, and it's awful, but can you imagine having a handicap like George where he's not just deaf, but he doesn't even read lips. So, we communicate through texting, but I was absolutely impressed when I met him in person in D.C. And then the first time I talked to his family, because he had a hard time, explaining to them what had happened to him. And so when I did talk to his sister, she just broke down crying because she said, we didn't know what happened to George. We just thought one day he just kind of went off the deep end. And they were so grateful. They were so grateful to everyone who has helped him. And they're just a really lovely family, and he is quite amazing. So,
yes, he is. So I will send a letter. I'm not a letter writer, but I'll send a letter to Karen, and maybe you could add that to him or something, because I did speak to George several times, on the support line he would call. And he's very lucid, and he's very grounded, down to earth. So yeah, that's horrible. I didn't know that happened.
Well, thank goodness you were able to get his family on board so they can continue to support him, because it sounds like they love him very much. They just were perplexed what in the world was going on, which of course is very understandable.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen.
Sure.
Hi, Karen.
Hey.
Hi, Karen. I have a question. I've been a targeted individual for 7 years, and they are burning my ears at night, and nothing seems to help to stop it. Shielding ice, nothing. Do you know anything about that?
Oh, my goodness. No, I don't know why they're picking out a certain part in your body, but I'm wondering if you can wear some kind of something over your head and put electrical tape over your ears, because electrical tape absorbs heat.
Okay.
Or you can somehow figure out a way to put the oval silicone mitts over your ears and keep them in place, because silicone absorbs heat.
I thought you said the silicone will destroy your skin. You need to have the material on your skin.
If you go to Walmart and you buy Rachel Ray oven mitts that are silicone, they're oval, not the ones that look like hands. They're oval, and they have silicone on one side, and they have material, cloth material on the other side. So you put the cloth material next to your skin.
Okay. And I'm also in Florida, and my stalkers won't let me email you. Do you ever meet up with any TIs or not?
I'm not in Florida anymore. I had to return to Maryland, and I'm trying to get my house kind of devoid of 30 years of garbage and get it in shape to sell and get the heck out of Maryland, too. I had been in Florida for 2 years to visit my parents because my mother had some health problems.
Okay. So, I'm wearing these conductive headphones, but I'm not deaf yet. Do these things really work? And listening to that horrible bilateral music?
Are you using the Aftershock bone
Aftershock, yeah.
They're supposed to, you're supposed to, according to Deb and Jax, who basically pioneered this, you're supposed to wear them as much of the day as possible, which requires recharging them a couple times a day. They're supposed to interfere with V2K. Are you wearing them for that reason? Because they also were saying that they think that they possibly interfere more also with just the nano and stuff in your body. So I'm not quite sure about that. But the V2K is the main reason to use them, to interfere with their ability to harass you.
Hit you.
But I do have to end the call now. But I really want to suggest you, ma'am, is to come on the Monday call. Do you have a list of all the safe calls? Because if you email me, I can send them to you.
No, I don't. That's another thing. My laptop has been affected, and currently the phone that I have, and I need to upgrade a phone. I've got so many things I need to, but I know if I don't get some kind of assistance and help and even get a lawsuit, that it's going to bury me, because I'm practically in financial ruin. I have a home.
Don't worry, at least you have us too. You're not completely alone. So let me give you, this is a wonderful gentleman. His name is James, and he has a Monday night call. And he's really good one-on-one, and there's a lot of, it's a small call, so you'll have the time to speak and to talk more. So let me give you his information.
Thank you so much, Ella. Sorry for taking up so much.
Welcome. Well, that's okay. We all got to talk, Sometimes we just got to let it out. Okay, so his number is 425 436 6376.
76. Okay.
And his ID number is 540614 £.
Okay, repeat that. 540
614 £.
614 £. Okay, got it.
So
thank
425.
Thank everyone for
You're
being
welcome.
patient.
I just want to make sure you got the number. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And go ahead.
I was just going to say thanks to Karen, thanks to Lily. I listen to you guys when I can remember, the times, and it's just an awkward schedule I'm on. But thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Ella, this is Sharon. I was just going to ask if I could get Karen's email because I didn't catch it before.
Okay, that's KAMS56@me.com.
All righty. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And
thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. And I also want to say thank you. Go ahead.
I'm
so
sorry. I know you want to go. This is Lily. I just posted in the chat the U.S. opinion at the committee meeting. The US
great. Let me grab that.
It starts at 1. The U.S. opinion, I don't know who he is. He quoted Pompeo, though. 1.17.30 is where you'll find the United States' opinion. It starts. He starts giving it, and then I also posted the actual paper report of Meltzer, where he opens up with neuroweapons and technology. He didn't say weapons. He says, I think, neurotechnology in the last section of the 18-page report. So I also posted the actual report.
So I see here that it says UN meeting, the U.S. opinion is found at, and that's the video, right?
That's the video of the actual committee meeting regarding Meltzer's report that he submitted to the organization. And then I also posted the actual paper report a couple spaces later. So you've got both links. And I just jumped ahead. I found where he was talking. Yeah. So, but you probably want to watch the whole thing. I haven't even watched the whole thing yet. I searched for the U.S.'s opinion, and it's pretty cookie cutter stuff sounding to me, But the one positive I found out of Meltzer's report was he opened a dialogue using the big words. He used nanotechnology in the last, of course, it's tucked in. It's tucked in the last paragraph of the whole report. So
and our letters are posted on the United Nations website. So there's all kinds of
seen that. I didn't know that.
Oh, I'll send it to you. Yeah, a good number of people had their letters posted on their website. Matthew got one up there too. I'm really proud of him. They had so many submissions, but they did post, I don't know, maybe a couple dozen, if I'm correct.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, thank you, Karen.
So that is all really great news. So Lily, if you email me, email me, I will send you that. And thank you for looking for this information for us again.
Sure.
Okay, so I just want to say, most of all, thank you, Karen. Thank you for coming on and allowing me the privilege of interviewing you again. And next week, I have a really interesting guy. He's fairly famous. He's pretty well known. He does news. He's not necessarily a target individual, but he knows about us. He listens to our calls, and he's a great guy. So I hope next Saturday you guys will be here. And I don't know who's going to be interviewing, maybe me and Frank and Midge and whoever else wants to do it. So I look forward to seeing you guys again next week, I hope.
Okay.
I hope you guys feel, and I hope you guys feel happy that you came to the call and that you learned something.
Well, thank you, Karen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.